The Galactic Council chamber was filled with noise. Dozens of alien leaders shouted over one another. Some slammed their fists on the long, curved table. Others glared across the room with burning eyes. Floating holograms showed images of destroyed colonies, ruined ships, and broken planets. A terrible war had shaken the galaxy, and now the galaxy demanded punishment. At the center of the chamber, standing alone, was a human. Ambassador Kira Solis. She wore a plain black uniform, no decorations, no flag. Her face was calm, almost too calm. Her dark eyes watched the chaos without blinking. She didn't speak. She didn't argue. She simply waited. The High Speaker, a tall being of light and smoke, raised its arms. Silence fell like a hammer. The speaker's voice echoed in the minds of every being present. The vote is final. Humanity is to be exiled, effective immediately. No contact, no trade, no help. They are no longer recognized by the Galactic Council. Some delegates cheered, others nodded grimly. A few looked away, unable to meet Kira's eyes. She smiled, not a warm smile, not a sad one, a strange smile. Cold, knowing. That smile sent a chill through the room. Without a word, she turned and walked out of the chamber. No one stopped her. Outside, her escort of guards looked nervous. They were meant to keep her from causing trouble. But now they followed her like shadows, afraid to walk too close. As she stepped onto the shuttle, one of the guards whispered to another, "They're not begging." "Why aren't they begging?" The shuttle took off. The council watched from above as the last human ambassador left council space. They thought it was over. They were wrong. 1 year earlier, the skies above Earth burned. Giant alien ships filled the void. The fleet from the Galactic Council had arrived in full force. Humanity had fought back with everything it had, but the numbers were too great. Cities were reduced to rubble. Oceans boiled under plasma fire. The moon shattered under the impact of a gravity bomb. Commander Elias Vance stood on the bridge of the last great human warship, the Dawnbreaker. He stared at the screens as red lights flashed everywhere. How many left? Only 7 ships, all damaged. "We've lost Mars defense. Lunar fleet is gone. Earth's surface defenses are down." He knew the war was lost, but surrender was never an option. He tapped a private comm. "Is the Ark ready?" "Almost." "Final systems check in progress. Do it fast." "We won't last much longer." The last Ark was not a warship. It was a deep space colony vessel, designed for one purpose: survival. Long range, fully automated, hidden from most records. While the rest of humanity fought and died, the Ark prepared to leave. Inside the Ark were chosen survivors. Scientists. Engineers, children, elders, data cores containing the full knowledge of Earth, DNA samples of every species from home, and something else. Something even more important. A secret. As the Dawnbreaker was struck by a railgun blast, Elias gave the final order: "Go, now." The Ark slipped into deep space, its engines silent. It didn't fight. It didn't send a signal. It simply disappeared. Into the void, and the Council believed Earth had fallen. Back in the present, Council systems celebrated the victory. Reports were filed. Rewards were handed out. Plans were made to erase the memory of humans from history. But in the shadows, some felt uneasy. Strange signals had been picked up on the edge of the outer rim. Fleets had gone missing. Patrols stopped responding. Council scouts were sent, but none returned. In a small command post near the edge of known space, a young officer stared at a blinking red dot on her screen. "That's not possible." "What is it?" "Unknown ship class. No registration, no transponder. It's just sitting there. Send a warning." "I already did." "No response?" "No. Wait. Something's coming through." The speakers hissed, and a single word played in the officer's ears. "Saul." She looked at the captain, her face pale. "What does it mean?" The captain didn't answer. He stared at the screen as more red dots appeared. 10, then 20, then 50. Ships warped into the system. Black, fast, sleek. Nothing like the bulky designs humans once used. These were new. Then everything went white. The command post was destroyed in seconds. No escape. No survivors. Across council space, panic began to spread. Rumors grew fast. A patrol ship destroyed. A scout fleet vanished. Unknown weapons used. Silent attacks. No warnings. Some said it was pirates. Others blamed unknown races from beyond the stars. But a few knew better. They remembered the word. Soul. The name of Earth's sun. Humanity was back. And they hadn't come to ask for forgiveness. They had come to remind the galaxy of what it had done. Ambassador. Kira Solis stood at the edge of a balcony aboard a hidden ship deep in the outer systems. Behind her, massive black ships moved like shadows in the void. Soldiers trained in silence. Engineers worked on strange weapons. She watched the stars, calm and patient. A man stepped up beside her. It has begun. She nodded. They exiled us. They erased our name. They thought they broke us. He looked at her. What now? She turned to face him. Now, we show them what they created. He didn't ask anything else. In the distance, another council outpost blinked out of existence. The message was clear. Humanity hadn't been destroyed. They had evolved. They had vanished into the dark for a reason, and now they had returned, not to rejoin the galaxy, but to change it forever. The small craft floated silently near the wreckage. Smoke drifted in space, even though there was no air. Shattered pieces of hull spun slowly. Lights flickered inside the broken remains of the council patrol ship. Lieutenant Keth Oren gripped the edge of his console. He was young for a field officer, scales still bright, eyes wide. This was his first real mission, and it felt wrong from the start. He and his team wore sealed suits as they entered the wreck. No gravity, no heat, just cold metal and silence. The patrol ship had been torn apart in seconds. That was already clear from the outside. But inside, it was worse. Bodies floated, some missing limbs, some burned beyond recognition. No escape pods had launched. Keth floated past a bulkhead that looked like it had been melted straight through. No known council weapon could do that. He turned on his helmet light and moved deeper. "Sir, over here," a voice crackled in his earpiece. He followed. The signal. A medic floated near the back wall of the ship's command deck. There, scrawled across the wall in what looked like dried blood, were the words, "We are not gone." Keth stared at it, heart pounding. The medic looked nervous. Who would do this? Keth's voice was barely above a whisper. "I don't know, but they wanted us to read it." He recorded the message. As they floated back to the shuttle, Keth felt something strange in his chest. Fear, but also something colder. Recognition. Later that day, the Galactic Council held a private meeting. No press, no broadcasts. The destroyed patrol ship was shown in full. The image of the blood-written message made even the coldest of leaders shift in their seats. The high speaker stood at the center of the hall. The cause of destruction is unknown. "We believe it may be the work of Outer Rim pirates." A few nodded. Others looked unconvinced. High Admiral Vach of the Drakari pounded his claw on the table. "Pirates do not write messages in blood. And they do not destroy entire ships in seconds." The council fell quiet. The speaker spoke again. "There is no evidence of who did this. Until more is known, we will not act." But someone else was acting already. Far away in the shadows of a dead moon, drills echoed deep underground. Great machines moved stone and ice. Generators hummed. Lights flickered to life in long-forgotten tunnels. This moon had once been used for mining. Then it had been abandoned. Too remote. Too unstable. Now it was perfect. In one of the lowest levels, A command room glowed with soft blue light. Holograms filled the air, maps, fleet status, ship logs, and weapon schematics. At the center stood a woman in dark armor, arms crossed behind her back. Admiral Kara Vale. One of the last survivors of Earth's final fleet. Commander of the hidden warships. Hero to some, ghost to others. She had been aboard the last ark. She had watched Earth fall, and she had sworn a quiet oath as the stars swallowed them whole. They would return, but not as victims. A young officer approached her, holding a data slate. Another council patrol wiped out. Message left behind. They're starting to notice. Kara didn't move. Let them notice. Just not too much. Not yet. She walked past the long row of screens. Technicians monitored shipbuilding docks hidden in asteroid fields. Engineers were testing. Stealth weapons on hollow moons. Fighter pilots trained in silent tunnels carved into rock. This was not just survival. This was planning. "We have 50 ships ready," the officer said. 30 more in production. Shield upgrades are ahead of schedule. And the children? Safe, trained, learning every day. They know who they are and what was done to us. Good. Kara looked at a display that showed the symbol of Earth, a blue and green circle surrounded by stars. "We lost Earth," she said, "but we didn't lose ourselves." She opened a new file. Satellite images from a council mining world. It was more than just a mine. It was a slave world, a place where captured species were worked to death for fuel, metals, and weapons. The council called it necessary. Kara called it something else. We strike at dawn. Meanwhile, far from the moon base, the council continued to argue. The high speaker pushed for patience. Others whispered in private about older threats, darker times. Some had studied human history. A few knew the stories, the wars, the inventions, the weapons, and the will. Humanity was strange, they said. When weak, they got stronger. When beaten, they adapted. When cornered, they became something terrifying. But most didn't believe those tales. They were just humans, broken, exiled, gone. Or so they thought. The council's attention soon turned to the mining colony on the planet Parnaxis. For decades, it had run without a problem. But one night, the stars above the planet went black. The orbital station lost contact with the surface. Then the surface went silent. By morning, council reinforcements arrived. They found the station empty. No guards. No workers, no ships. The mines were abandoned. The control centers were wrecked. Only one thing had been left behind, a massive banner, hanging from the central tower, black cloth, white letters, and the symbol of Earth. Kara stood aboard the bridge of a stealth cruiser, watching the scene through. "A long-range feed. The slaves are free," the pilot said. "They've been taken to safe zones. No civilian deaths." Good. The pilot hesitated. The council will respond. Kara narrowed her eyes. Let them. She turned away as the ship slipped back into the black. She had waited for years, built in silence, trained in the dark, planted seeds in every system the council had forgotten. And now, the roots were growing. Back at the council chamber, an emergency session had been called. They played the video footage in silence. Black ships, strange weapons, no visible crew. Then that banner. One delegate stood. That was Earth's symbol. The old one. Pre-exile. Another delegate hissed, "Impossible." They were destroyed. The high speaker spoke with a trembling voice, then explained the message. No one could. On dozens of worlds, whispers began to spread, of silent ships in the dark, of black banners with forgotten stars, of a voice on hidden channels that said, "We are not gone." And soon, the galaxy would learn the truth. They had not destroyed humanity. They had given it a reason to rise. The Council shuttle landed with a soft thud on the surface of the Outer Rim colony. It was quiet. Too quiet. Ambassador Relk stepped out first, adjusting his breathing mask. The wind here was dry, full of dust. The sky above was gray, the sun dim. Buildings stood tall but empty. Doors hung open. Lights blinked, but no one came. He turned to his guards. "Scanners show nothing?" "Nothing living," one guard replied. "But movement, shadows, could be a malfunction." Relk narrowed his eyes. This colony had once held over 10,000 people. Miners, council workers, engineers. A full garrison protected it. Now, not even a corpse remained. The streets were clean. Too clean. As if they had left in silence. Relk walked slowly past the food depot. Bowls still on tables. A toy dropped near a bench. A scarf hanging from a rail. Not a panic. A disappearance. He reached the central plaza. Then he heard it. A whisper. Small. Fragile. A child's voice. "They're watching." Relk froze. "Whose?" There, no answer. He raised his communicator. Static. One of the guards turned pale. "Sir!" Movement behind the admin tower. They ran toward the structure. But there was nothing. Just an open door swinging in the breeze, and on the wall, a message scratched deep into the metal. "We see you." The Black Fleet had been here, and they had left a message. Far beyond the Council's borders, the humans were rising. In the cold shadows of space, near an old gas giant, a massive asteroid turned. Silently. Its surface was jagged, useless to most, but deep inside, something stirred. Shipyards. Hidden bays glowed with the light of plasma welders. Rows of human engineers, men, women, and even children, worked beside machines, welding armor to the frames of black ships. These weren't just warships, they were ghosts. No signatures, no heat trails. They moved like shadows, and they carried weapons not found in any records. Admiral Kara Vale walked across a metal catwalk above the fleet. Her eyes were distant. Her uniform simple. Black, no rank shown. She did not need medals. Everyone here knew who she was. Kara stopped and looked at a ship still under construction. Its long frame reminded her of something buried in memory. A home, Earth, gone now, ashes in orbit. Cities burned, her husband lost in the first blast, her daughter gone before she could say goodbye. The pain lived behind her eyes, sharp and quiet. A voice pulled her back. "Admiral, the diplomat from the Kalari outpost has arrived. They brought the list of ships." She nodded. "Bring them to the command chamber." As she walked away, she passed a wall where names were carved into steel. Thousands of names, everyone lost. Every name, a reason to fight. Later, in the command chamber, a Kalari officer bowed before her. His scales shimmered silver. "Your fleet grows faster than we thought possible." Kara said nothing. The Kalari smiled. "We were hunted, exiled, called less than nothing. But you, humans, you found us. You gave us a chance we will not forget." Kara finally spoke. No one left behind. Not anymore. The Kalari handed her a datapad. "Our ships are yours. They await orders. And our pilots have sworn the old code." She looked at the list. 50 vessels. Small, fast, lightly armed. Perfect for stealth runs. "We don't need size, Kara," said. "We need speed, precision, fear." That night, in her private quarters, she watched an old recording, grainy video. A laughing child in a garden, her daughter, brown curls, bright eyes. Then the sky went white. The screen cut out. Kara sat still. A tear rolled down her cheek, but her face remained hard. "They thought they destroyed us," she whispered, "but they made us." In another part of the galaxy, far from the Black Fleet's base, a council warlord stood inside a dark room. His name was Vorak, one of the fiercest generals. His body was covered in scars. His claws had ended dozens of rebellions, but now he stood across from a single human figure. Tall, calm, wearing no armor. A diplomat of the Black Fleet. You know. "What you're asking?" Vorak growled. "These are warship blueprints, council secrets, treason." The human diplomat said nothing, just placed a small device on the table. It blinked once. Vorak looked down. A hologram appeared, his own species, locked in cages, a council prison world. "Your people are dying," the human said. "Forgotten, used, we don't forget." Vorak's jaw tightened. "And if I say no?" "You won't," the human said softly. "Because the humans promised they wouldn't ask twice." Vorak stared, then reached into his coat and pulled out a data chip. "You're insane," he muttered. "But maybe that's what this galaxy needs." The human took the chip. "We'll be in touch." As the human left, Vorak whispered to himself, "They're not building an army, they're building a storm." Back on the Black Fleet base, the data from Vorak's chip changed everything. New targets, weak points in the Council's defense network, locations of secret supply lines. Kara stood before her commanders. "We strike 3 worlds in 1 week," she said, simultaneously. "No mercy, no survivors, no signal. Left behind. We don't just hit them, we disappear." One of her officers spoke. "And if the Council starts hunting us?" Kara looked at him with fire in her eyes. "Let them try." In hidden channels, across encrypted frequencies, messages spread. The Black Fleet is coming. They're real, and they're just getting started. The Council still argued, still denied, still delayed. But their enemies were no longer hiding, and in the darkness between stars, the ships of Earth moved like shadows, waiting, watching, ready. Because humanity had learned the rules of the galaxy and decided to break them. The chamber was sealed tight. No recording devices, no guards, just 11 members of the Council seated in silence. The stars outside shimmered through the massive dome above them, but no one looked up. A system had gone dark. Not a colony, a full star system. Gone, no signals, no trade, no distress call. Just silence. First Minister Jaral spoke, voice tight. "We've lost contact with Hespera Prime. 4 planets, 2 moons, 3 trade routes." "Gone?" "Gone," confirmed the technician, like it was erased. The table fell quiet. Jaral leaned forward. "Any signs of ancient weapons?" The analysts shook their heads. "We scanned for traces. No precursor tech, no rift damage, nothing. Except what? A Council patrol ship 10 hours before blackout. It picked up something strange." He pressed a button. A symbol appeared in the air. Simple. Old. From a language long forgotten in the core. The human's Earth script. 3 words burned into a satellite shell. "We are returned." Gasps filled the room. "Impossible," said one ambassador. The humans were exiled. Powerless. Their ships were broken, their people scattered. Jaral shook his head. "No, we exiled them, and in doing so, we freed them." Out in the dark, the humans were no longer playing by the rules. They were writing their own. In a distant asteroid field, Admiral Kara Vale stood before a glowing map of the galaxy. Lines and routes blinked red. Every wormhole they had targeted in the last week now collapsed. Trade lines broken. Council fleets stranded. Refugees panicked. And Earth's shadow stretched further. Kara turned to her officers. "Report." Commander Miles stepped forward. 3 wormholes collapsed. 1 detonated mid-transit. Took out a destroyer group. No survivors. And the payload? Completely human-made. "Fusion overcharge. Stealth tech. Reverse engineered from Council schematics. We're using their own design against them." Kara nodded, but her eyes were distant. Later, in her quarters, She stared at an old pendant. It was her daughter's, a tiny sun-shaped charm. She closed her fingers around it, her thoughts drifting back. The last night on Earth. Sirens, the sky burning, holding her child close. Mama, will it hurt? Kara had no answer then. She didn't now. That memory never stopped haunting her. A knock on the door. Enter Miles again. He looked unsure. We've received a new plan from the Ghost Assembly. Full tactical collapse of all Outer Rim wormholes. All of them? Kara said quietly. Yes, Admiral. Total isolation. No supply. No retreat. She looked at him. And the civilians? He hesitated. Collateral. She stood up slowly. Are we the monsters now? Miles didn't respond. The silence was answer enough. Elsewhere, Council ships tried to regroup. Admiral Rilcor, one of the most ruthless leaders, moved with speed. He led a fleet of 30 warships toward a desert world in the Outer Rim. Reports claimed the Black Fleet was using it as a supply base. The world was empty on scans. No defenses. Barely any atmosphere. Perfect for a quick purge. Rilcor grinned. Fools. You should have stayed in the dirt. The fleet descended and vanished. No distress calls, no escape pods, no signals, just silence. Hours later, a probe arrived. It scanned the surface. All it found was a crater, and carved into the rock in old Earth language, glowing red with burned plasma. Exile is over. The Council stared at the message in horror. They had thought the humans would disappear into silence. But now, silence belonged to them. No system was safe. No star secure. The war had changed, and the Black Fleet was just beginning. Galactic news poured like wildfire through the systems. On every public screen, in every starport, in every dome world plaza, one word kept repeating. Humans. They were back, and no one knew how, or from where. Trade fleets vanished. Patrols lost. Contact. Rim colonies shut down, some without a trace. Entire systems darkened as if swallowed by night. Panic spread. Refugees rushed into the core worlds. Ships overpacked, people screaming, begging for safety. But safety was a lie now. Even the Council didn't feel safe anymore. In a high-orbit station above Zari Prime, the Prince of the Varnak Dominion scrolled through old, restricted files. His name was Kyle, thirdborn, rarely taken seriously. But he had a sharp mind, and his father had recently fallen ill. Some whispered it was poison. Kyle didn't trust the Council anymore. He'd seen too many secrets behind their eyes. Now, in the hidden vaults of his family's archive, he found something ancient. A sealed treaty, dated over 200 cycles ago. It was written in neutral diplomatic code, hard to trace, harder to decode. It read, Earth to serve as final barrier, last defense. Should they grow too strong, exile. Should they resist, erase. Kyle's heart raced. This wasn't just exile. This was a setup. The humans weren't banished for crimes. They were betrayed for power. He opened the next page. A map. Earth surrounded by Council fleets even before the last war. Blockades, trade restrictions, political sabotage. It was all planned, Kyle whispered to himself. We turned them into monsters. And now the monsters are coming home. In deep space, hidden inside the gravity shadows of a dead binary star, the Black Fleet was growing stronger. Human engineers worked non-stop, pulling apart stolen ships, combining alien tech with Earth's raw brutality. There were no comforts, no luxuries. Just purpose. Revenge had become an industry. Admiral Kara Vale stood in the heart of the command dome aboard the dreadnought Oblivion. Around her floated dozens of holograms, targets, data lines, refugee movements, Council fleet patrols. She stared at them, but her mind was elsewhere. Kara sat alone in her memory, in that last Council meeting before Earth's fall. They had given her one choice: surrender Earth's tech and leadership, or be branded a war criminal. She had laughed. She remembered the ambassador's face, cold, smug. "You are brave," he had said. But bravery is useless in silence. Now she had turned that silence into a weapon. Below her on the decks, officers trained night and day. Some were born in exile. Others were survivors, scarred, bitter, unbreakable. And every one of them believed in one truth: Earth must rise again. Back in the council chambers, chaos ruled. Ambassadors shouted over one another. Military leaders argued about strategies. Economists wept at the collapse of outer trade. A proposal rose from the chaos. The Peace Division, an idea born in desperation. The plan: offer humanity amnesty, share power, build a truce, anything to stop. The bleeding. They sent out ships under white banners. No weapons, just envoys, diplomats, peace officers. One such ship, the Calm Whisper, was led by High Envoy Jarek and carried dozens of peace-seeking species. They followed old trade routes trying to find the humans they thought they had. A signal was picked up from a neutral moon near the Tyran Drift. A single beacon blinking. Jarek's ship landed gently, shields lowered, lights soft. Nothing moved. Outside. Then, black ships broke from the shadows, silent, fast, terrifying. No weapons fired, no alarms, just movement. Within seconds, the Calm Whisper was surrounded. Inside the bridge, Jarek stood tall. He wore no armor, just the pale robe of diplomacy. His hands were raised in peace. "We come to talk," he said. "We come to make peace." The airlock hissed, open. Boots echoed. A human officer stepped through. Young, cold-eyed, armored in matte black. He looked at Jarek. No emotion, no interest. Jarek spoke again, voice steady. "We are not your enemies. We wish to make amends." The officer took one step closer. "You had your chance." Jarek opened his mouth to respond. The officer cut him off. "Now we take what's ours." Darkness filled the bridge as systems shut down. The Council's message of peace had arrived too late. The humans were done talking. Admiral Cara Vale stood alone in the command dome of the dreadnought Oblivion. The war map floated in front of her, a massive hologram showing the galaxy. Red lights marked Council territory. But now, a dozen systems blinked blue. Human blue. Dead moons, abandoned colonies, trade hubs, military outposts. One by one they had fallen, not from invasion, from strategy. Black ships moved like shadows, silent, fast, ruthless. Now those shadows were spreading. Cara didn't smile. Her face was hard, eyes cold. She raised one hand. The AI core responded, its voice low, clear. "Command ready." Cara said one word. "Initiate protocol." There was a pause. "Confirmed," said the AI. "Revenge protocol active." And just like that, the final phase began. Hidden deep inside human code, buried years ago during false trade deals, smuggled updates, stolen connections, was a virus. Not just any virus, a precision-built signal. Across the galaxy, Council drones froze, mining units crashed. Patrol, bots spiraled into space. Cargo carriers stalled mid-flight. Repair systems sparked, then shut down. The Council had built its empire on automation. Now it was helpless. The humans didn't need to fight every battle. They just needed to pull the right string. On the bridge of the Oblivion, lights shifted. A new signal came in. Another system had gone dark. This time, without a single shot fired. Captain Rowan turned to Kara. "They're panicking. Their fleets are retreating to the core." "They should," Kara replied. "They're not ready for what comes next." But even as she stood strong, Kara's thoughts drifted. Back to that final day on Earth. Back to him, her brother. She saw his face again, young, full of hope. A pilot, brave, loyal. He believed in peace. He trusted the Council. Until the lie. Until the Council sent fake orders. A trick. His squad flew straight into a trap. The humans were blamed, branded traitors. Kara begged the Council to investigate. They refused. "I'm sorry for your loss," one counselor had said, "but peace requires sacrifice." Now sacrifice had returned to them. Across the galaxy, alien populations watched the chaos unfold. They saw human ships not as destroyers, but as symbols. The exiled had returned, not as slaves or refugees, but as power, and power inspired rebellion. In the slave pits of Yorex, the guards found their collars empty. Workers vanished into the tunnels. Soon, fires burned, and old chains melted. And the merchant towers of Tarkan Fev, once loyal nobles, switched sides. One by one, they pledged to the humans. "We'd rather stand with those who remember suffering," they said, "than those who forgot it." Not every rebellion was violent. On Zelos, a council planet, entire cities turned off their systems. No more taxes, no more orders. Silent. Defiance. The galaxy wasn't just falling apart, it was choosing a side. Back at the council capital, panic set in. Emergency meetings, secret plans, desperate negotiations. But nothing worked, because no one could find the humans. Then, something happened. A distortion in deep space. Long-range sensors picked it up first. A gravity shift. Too large, too focused. The council sent scouts. They never returned. So they sent a full observation fleet. This time, they saw it. A ship. But not just a ship. A planet-sized dreadnought. Black, silent, unmarked. No lights, no visible weapons. Just motion. Slow, deliberate, unstoppable. It moved through hyperspace like a shadow across the stars. Straight toward the council capital. The analysts screamed. Strategists ran calculations. Weapons couldn't stop something that size. Defenses wouldn't hold. One word flashed across every council screen. Soul class. Human design. But not from before. This was something new. Something built in exile. Forged in pain. Fed by vengeance. They had thought Earth was broken. But Earth had become a weapon. In the oblivion, Kara watched the dreadnought's progress. She said nothing. She didn't need to. The message had already been sent. The sky above the council capital turned black. At first, it looked like a shadow, a glitch in the light. But then came the sound. Low, deep, like thunder from the stars. Sirens screamed, streets filled with running civilians. Council guards shouted, orders no one followed. Mothers clutched their children. Traders sealed their shops. Priests prayed to gods long forgotten. Above them, dozens of black shapes moved in perfect silence. Human ships, not just warships, symbols of a broken past, returned. With fire, the great planetary shield activated, walls of golden energy covering the city like a dome. Council fighters rose to meet the threat, but the Black Fleet was already in position. From orbit, the Oblivion gave the order. Admiral Kara stood tall, eyes on the enemy fleet, hands steady. Behind her, officers waited. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "You made us outlaws," she said calmly. "Now we write the new law." The fleet opened fire. Lasers cut through vacuum like lightning. Missiles streaked like falling stars. The Council's elite ships fought back with everything they had. Plasma beams, torpedoes, swarm drones. It lit up the sky with red and gold. But the humans weren't fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for justice. And that made them dangerous. The humans had planned this for years. They knew every weak point, every delay, every escape tunnel. Their AIs predicted each council move before it happened. The council lost 5 ships in the first hour, then 10 more. Then their flagship exploded in a silent fireball. Its commander refused to abandon it. The shockwave rattled the capital's towers. Glass fell like rain. People screamed, ran, hid, but something strange happened. Some of them stopped running. They looked up. They saw the human ships, and they didn't see monsters. They saw survivors. In the central square, an alien girl held up a flag, a simple white cloth, torn from her own clothes. She raised it high. Others followed. Surrender wasn't ordered. It just happened, and word spread fast. Entire blocks dropped their weapons. Tired guards fell to their knees. Old citizens, who once voted for the exile, wept in the streets. "Please," one of them whispered. "No more." In the command dome, Admiral Kara received the reports. Surrender, collapse, panic. Captain Rowan turned to her. "What do we do?" Kara didn't answer immediately. She walked to the window, looked down at the burning sky. The towers of power. The symbols of the ones who betrayed her brother, her people, her planet. She remembered it all. The trial. The silence. The exile. She remembered the lie that cost her brother's life, and she remembered the oath she made to never let humanity be stepped on again. But this moment wasn't about rage. It was about choice. She turned back. "Send the order," she said. "What order?" Rowan asked. Kara took a breath. "No executions, no destruction, only disarm them. Dismantle the council." Rowan stared. "You're letting them live?" "No," Kara said. "I'm letting them remember." She stepped forward, voice steady. "We don't need to burn their cities. We've already taken their power." Across the capital, human soldiers entered council buildings. But there were no executions, no fires, no flags raised in blood, just silence, control. By the end of the day, every fleet was gone. Every council leader arrested, every command code revoked. In their place, a message was sent to every star system. Humanity would not rule with fear, but they would rule. A new network was born, one built on memory, not on forgiveness, but understanding. 1. Alien civilian, old and tired, stood before a human officer with shaking hands. "I thought you would destroy us," he said. The officer looked down at him, calm and quiet. "We thought the same about you. The war was over, but something greater had begun." Later that night on the Oblivion, Kara stood alone again, watching the stars. She saw the broken council flag floating in orbit. She didn't smile. She simply whispered to herself, "We were banished. Now we rule the rim, and we remember everything."